Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. I'm a 56-year-old man. Even though I'm not particularly intelligent, I have been experimenting with time travel. Something derived from the Quantum Leap television series and the Back to the Future trilogy. A university professor friend I met at the campus coffee shop was assisting me. I was speaking with a student who, prior to moving onto campus after starting college, had lived in my neighborhood. We were speculating about what it could be like to actually travel through time while discussing the Back to the Future trilogy. This professor overheard our chat while seated at the adjacent table. You are aware that it is possible to travel across time, right? As we sat there staring at him like he was insane, he questioned. Professor, yes, we do. And we burst out laughing. I gave the professor a serious face while my companion was busting a gut, and I pretended to be interested in learning more. I then informed my friend that I was done and that I needed to leave since I had to go to work. Well, I didn't, but I did use that as a cover so as not to offend him. I gave the professor one more glance before pointing at the door with my eyes. He put his tray away, stood up, and followed me outside. I questioned the professor about his meaning after we had moved to a place where my friend couldn't see us when he emerged. Professor, what do you mean by saying that time travel is possible? Recall the H.G. Wells novel, The Time Machine. Well, a movie was then made of it? Yes, so imagine this if you will. Mathematically, the space-time continuum makes sense. I've been putting some serious time into the theory, and I'm almost done. But for it to function correctly, I need someone who can put it all together. Do you have any mechanical aptitude? Sure, I am. I mean, I make a few adjustments here and there, but generally, what I create works. Good. Do you want to assist me in demonstrating that time travel is both mathematically possible and really occurs? Absolutely. I enjoy a challenge. Good. After returning to his office, he pulled 3 notebooks from his briefcase. He started by opening the first one and explaining the meanings of the symbols and numbers, as well as the rationale behind their arrangement. When he was done, he looked at me and then back at his notebooks before speaking in a matter-of-fact manner. I want you to construct an accelerator, exactly as the blueprints indicate. Anyone can go across time if you can accomplish that. I have yet another blueprint right here. I refer to it as the exchanger. What exactly does that accomplish, Professor? I inquired. It enables you to swap places with any person, even yourself, if you so choose, when you travel back in time. But according to the notion, touching someone from your past self will cause you to vanish into oblivion. Anyhow, you will be transferred into the body of the selected individual by my exchanger, but it is a one-way transfer. Since the exchanger is destroyed after usage, you cannot return the way you came. But if I did that, everything I've done up to this point, from the point of change, is gone, right? Regarding that section, I'm not sure. I am aware that if you choose to return as a different version of yourself, such as when you were a child or another age, you won't be consigned to oblivion. Therefore, it's possible that erasing the future because you altered the past isn't true once the future has already been determined. I refer to right now. That professor's theory is quite intriguing. Yes, it is. Oh dear, what is your name exactly? David. David, rest assured that anything I'm saying right now is completely safe. Are you still willing to assist me? Yes, Professor. I will assist you. Good. This reminded me of when I was 10 years old and had a very private birthday wish that I kept to myself. I think I could have changed what it didn't happen if I could travel back in time and meet myself when I was 10 years old. That was because I secretly dressed since I yearned to be a female so much. This was my covert birthday desire, which my mother was unaware of. The opportunity to fix something I should have had the fortitude to undertake was now being presented to me by the professor. Inform my mom that I would like to be her daughter. He roused me from my daydream while I was sitting there thinking, which must have appeared to the professor as though I were in another universe. David, is something not right? No, Professor. All I did was consider the implications of what you said. Oh, David, what is that? Whenever I was 10 years old, I had a secret birthday desire. Would you mind telling me about that? You wouldn't get it, in my opinion. Try me, David. You'd be surprised at how open-minded I am. Yes, possibly, Professor. However, this particular wish is not very common and can harm people severely in many ways. Okay, so let me tell you about a wish I once had, but fate intervened and here I am. I had a very private wish of my own when I was young and even into my 20s. I had been secretly masquerading as a girl for many years. I had always imagined myself as a female. However, while I was a college student, quantum physics turned into my obsession. I developed this notion in the same way. So, however, I was one of the girls, and I don't believe my mother ever found out about it. If she did, she kept it quiet. I've also wished for that. I started getting dressed when I was 5 years old. I made this secret birthday wish when I was 10 years old, but I was too terrified to tell my mother. David, I understand how you feel. How about going back in time to fix that error, greater than all else? And now is your opportunity. Given that it is already Thursday, how about we begin on Saturday? Okay, Professor. That sounds excellent to me. David, I'll see you on Saturday. I walked away from our handshake, still considering the potential outcomes of this journey. It's possible for me to travel back in time and undo the error I made by keeping my mother in the dark about my secret birthday wish when I was 10 years old. In my life, this couldn't have come at a better moment. I was too afraid to say anything 46 years ago. I had the chance to make it right now. I will remain the girl I have always been if what the professor said is accurate. I arrived at my motel room quickly. I flung open the door and entered. I continued to consider what lay ahead of me as I sat there, staring out the window at the Madison skyline. I was being granted a second chance that no one, including myself, had ever received before. A second chance to fix a past error by traveling into the past. This seemed too wonderful to be true, but if it were to succeed, humanity would soon have access to technology that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years. Though it was confusing, I handled it well. I'll assist the professor in creating his time-traveling accelerator and associated exchanger. 9 o'clock was early by Midwest standards, but I had made the decision to go to bed because I was exhausted. It's fortunate that this hotel offers week-long prices because I'll be staying for an additional week. I went for a jog outside since I wasn't required to report to work the following day because I was on vacation. I considered the professor's suggestion while I ran, to be able to go back in time and change what ought to have taken place. I wasn't even married and didn't have any kids. My romantic relationships involved dressing as a girl at my place. In order to live my life as it should have been all those years ago, I would need to go back in time and fix the error that occurred, reliving my 10th birthday in the past. Was it simply too much to hope for? Perhaps not, but there was nothing to lose in trying. I went to bed early because as the day went on, I started to feel more and more exhausted. In my dream that night, I was a 10-year-old girl with plenty of friends. We had sleepovers and played a variety of activities. I had the most beautiful hair and was dressed in the most lovely things. My mother was present in my dream as well, but I was born a girl there instead of a boy, and she showed me warmth and affection rather than the continual ranting that she did in real life. I was having a dream when I heard a distant buzzing sound approaching closer and closer. I woke up and turned off my alarm clock once my head had registered what the noise was. Please don't ask me what I thought the distant buzzing noise was, since, even if I knew, I couldn't recall. I got up and ran a bubble bath in the bathroom. I filled a small bubble bath with lavender oil because I enjoy the aroma. Then I just sat there, eyes closed. I closed my eyes and let the water wash over me as I daydreamed. It was somewhat reminiscent of the dream I had the previous night, but this time I was chasing a kid through a field of violets. He laughed, and I ran laughing. We rolled over a few times as we hugged each other while he pretended to tackle me. For these times, I set a timer, and when it went off, I pretended to be really unhappy while daydreaming. Then, with a poof, it was over, and it was time to wash and rinse off. I wrapped the towel over me like a woman would as soon as I got out of the tub. I entered the bedroom and pulled out my rose-colored pants, bra, and cami combination. I pulled out a pair of stay-up nylons, my black flats, a pullover sweater, and my size 18 trousers. I dressed before making the professor's call. He promised to meet me at the door so there wouldn't be a problem with the security guard while he was at the university working in his lab. I checked my surroundings to be sure nothing was gone before placing my keys in my rucksack and heading to the university. In well under 10 minutes, I arrived at the institution. The security let me in, and I found the professor waiting for me. I immediately got to work in his lab after we were there. The supplies I would require were purchased by the professor. I realized that this wasn't going to be a one-day project after taking another look at the blueprints. When I glanced at the designs, it appeared to me that I would be building a shower stall rather than a time machine. But in truth, it resembled a spacecraft or an alien force field, similar to what you could have seen in the film War of the Worlds. The only item I wouldn't have to build would be the glass dome, which would be specially ordered. I began by spreading out the engine prints. I gave them a very close inspection. More wires and gears were present than I wanted to acknowledge. After that, I moved the first blueprint over to the workbench and started putting the ratio gears together. After that, I checked to make sure they were constructed in accordance with the blueprints. They certainly were. I set the prints aside after that and proceeded to get the second one. The rocker arm assembly was this, something that causes the wheels to rotate collectively like what you see on a train engine. Only 2 rocker arm assemblies were required, and assembly was simple. When I compared them to the blueprints, I was confident that I had completed the task correctly. It was time for me to leave for the day. The professor came over and told me. We then left everything in its current state. We briefly discussed the project as we left the building. Professor, it will take roughly a week to complete this project. Can I work on it over the week in any way? I'm fully paid at the hotel till the following Sunday. I anticipated it would take a week or so. There is a way to provide you access to it during the week. Yes. I'll simply inform the department dean that you are my apprentice. How far did you get in your studies? If I ever make it to college, I still have 1 more semester to complete. That's great. The dean is completely unaware of the nature of this endeavor. He believes it to be an accelerator for a classified weapon that I was hired to manufacture by the government. He would make sure that this project was promptly put on hold if he ever learned that I was experimenting with time travel. You get it, Professor. How about you tell me your name? I'm Associate Dean of the Science and Physics Division, Professor Stephen Marks. It is crucial that no one learns what we are actually doing in my lab because of this. The most of the time, the kids complete their homework and projects in my classroom. Come on, I'll demonstrate. As we approached his classroom, he unlocked the door, revealing a replica of the professor's lab. This is the first time I've seen both, because during my time in college, I just spent time in the classroom and not any labs. The classrooms at colleges are identical. Everyone can see what the professor is doing in class because to the tiered seating arrangement. David, would you please return tomorrow? There is still much work to be done. Yes, I am able to return tomorrow. There is a lot I can do if everything goes as you said it will. But why don't you give it a shot yourself? You have a lot of options. David, that is accurate, but here I'm content. I simply had to complete this project. I knew I could help you when I overheard you talking to your friend in the Commons and noticed the emotion on your face. Don't misunderstand me, David. I wish I could change the past and make amends. However, I believe I would still be here, instructing students in quantum physics. I'll thus just remain where I am. I mean, I enjoy my work, and it allows me to experiment with things that are typically the subject of science fiction literature. Okay, I get your point, Professor. I'll see you then tomorrow. When should I give you a call? I'll pick you up, and then we can both come over tomorrow. Does it sound okay? Right, Professor. My room number is 347 at the Town Hotel. Okay, David, I'll call you to let you know I'm coming. Professor, I'll see you tomorrow. Ew, good night. Sleep well, David. I walked back to my hotel after leaving. Although it wasn't a great hotel, it certainly wasn't that bad. As I lay there awake that night, I considered all the potential outcomes of the project I was developing. I was thinking as I dozed off into a peaceful sleep. On the eve of my 9th birthday, I had a dream in which I was back at home. In order to use the exchanger, I would wait until I ran into my younger self. Then I would pretend to ask him for directions while forcing him to look at the map with me. I didn't want the dream to end because it was so pleasant, but the ringing of the phone woke me up. Good day, David. Awake or asleep? I'm a professor now. Laugh. We can eat breakfast in my lab after you have had approximately an hour to get up, shower, and get dressed. Goodbye, Professor. When you go downstairs, just call. David, I'll see you in a little over an hour. I checked my watch, and the time was 7:30. I then got up, went inside, and pulled out my pink cami bra and pants. I pulled out my trousers, a white-ribbed V-neck shell, and a pair of nylons. I even considered donning a skirt outfit tomorrow. If the university's dress code allows it, I'll discuss it with the professor and find out. I continued to think about this idea while I prepared for the shower by shaving my legs and underarms. It would be wonderful if I could go back in time with the knowledge I possess today and muster the fortitude to change what ought to have occurred 46 years ago. I may have continued to dress in private at that time because I lacked the guts. But perhaps it's best for that secret to be known. When I first heard the song, I'm Not Lisa by Jessie Coulter, I felt Lisa would be a lovely female name. I would be the happiest girl in the world if this endeavor was a success. I dried off after the shower and applied lotion and powder. The moment I started getting ready, the phone started ringing. The professor was standing by the desk below when the call came. I grabbed my purse and walked out the door. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.